An artistic search of a form of art which is natural, not conditioned by academic influences nor by accepted norms of commercialized crafts. Instead, it is original, spontaneous, an honest expression of simple emotions and directly connected with daily life by using what people know how to do through the process of remembering that which was known but forgotten in the struggle for mere survival. This is a story of Loving Ben, a widow whose story of survival is tragic. Illiterate and with 6 children, all she knew was to make masks and bowls which had a limited market. She survived by selling old gunny bags. She would like to live the life of a natural artist, but could not. The hutments of Shahpur in the city of Ahmedabad, where she lives, are deprived of economic and social development. The people who live here are mainly the traders of old clothes, old gunny bags, old newspapers, bottles, tins, metal, furniture, and thrash. Loving Ben belongs to this community. People living in underprivileged areas have a spontaneous aptitude of working with the hands and fashioning works of great beauty in various materials. Loving Ben is one amongst them. It was in the year 1975 that Esther David found her by chance.
At that time, as a sculptor, I was looking for something else to do besides sculpture, because sculpture is a very, how do you say, one gets very isolated as an artist. In that context, I met Ela Bhatt at that time, and she suggested, why not you work in Shahpur, Shankar Bhavan.
Loving Ben has been our one of the most distinguished members. We have known her for last 20 years, and she had shown her skill to Esther David.
So when I asked her, she said that she just does this for herself, which again is a very amazing thing, that when a person in such a environment does something so artistic just for herself. And not only that, being a sculptor, I find that it's not easy to make something like that. If you are an art student and if you are exceptionally talented, only then in a year you would be able to pick up a lot. But otherwise, in a normal sense, it takes 4 to 5 years before you get the feel of a language or clay. Take for example, these are masks, and as masks, you need to know something about a head. It takes, as a student, 1.5 years to learn to make a portrait in clay, and to handle and to use your thumb properly, and to put the eye, the nose, everything in the right place. Well, I would say that after one has learned how to make a portrait, it takes about, say, 5 years before one can really sit down to think about stylization. And this is an amazing stylization of animal heads done by a totally illiterate woman who has had no conditioning or no background in fine arts. It's something that is natural, and I think that's why I'm interested in Loving Ben as a sculptor. Not only that, she doesn't stop at that. She can go to any extent if she has the scope and if she has the opportunity. Like take for example this little sculpture that she has made of a elephant and a man sitting on an elephant. Well, I think it's amazing. Not only that she can hollow it out, and the expression on the face of the man and also the eyes of the elephant. Everything I think is amazingly original. The same applies to her making of horses or any other toys for that matter.
With a commitment and a strong feeling of social responsibility towards the less privileged, Esther David has chosen to concentrate her efforts almost exclusively on young girls and women, helping them to discover their artistic potential. She thought that the natural artists are struggling for their survival and their ability to create can be used for the betterment of their life by making use of existing skills.
This itself was the beginning for me to take art from underprivileged areas to what is the so-called sophisticated areas, because normally when you speak about art we say it's for a certain class. We normally say folk arts is for the level of the traditional folk arts, in which the craftsmen, they work on a certain level and they create a certain stereotype forms and they know something traditionally from forefathers. That's one way. And art is for the elite. That's normally their understanding. While as a teacher of fine arts and as an artist, I think that there is this barrier, there is a barrier. I mean, art is something universal. What we needed to do was to bridge the gap. So we decided that we would set up a small organization which is called Setu the Bridge, and the main ideology of this work is action through art.
Lovingben and her masks is one example of how artistic results can help in creating originality of expression if coordinated with skills.
આ બેન આવ્યા હતા તારે ઘર બતાવું કરેલું હતું, સારું કરેલું હતું. રૂપાળી આમ નાખેલી હતી, આવી આ વેલ બેલ બધી પાડેલી હતી ને ટોરલા પણ બેહાડેલા હતા. પછી વાઘ બેહાડેલા હતા તાર કે તરા બેન કે આ બનાવી આલશો? કીધું હા બેન બનાવી આલીશ. તો એ શોભા મેચેલી હતી. પછી જોઈ ગયેલા, પછી કે બનાય તાર કે. પછી બનાવવાનું કર્યું. પછી એ બનાવ્યા તો 10-5 બનાવી આપ્યા એમને. પછી અહીંથી પછી ઓર્ડર આપવા માંડ્યા. પછી હાલવા માંડી. તે કિંજેરામાં ત્યાં પરદેશન ભરાતું પરદેશન ભરાતું ને ત્યાં કણ પછી બોલાવતા મને.
Lovingben is a natural artist. She makes the masks and bowls with a mixture of sticky yellow river clay and old cardboard boxes she may have picked up in the street. The clay is rotted with the cardboard in a hole she has dug in front of her house. After 10 days, when the clay is ready to be molded, she mixes it with granules of raw glue which she melts in a pan. To this, she adds the powder of tamarind seeds and kneads it into a workable mixture. She chooses a broken or an old pot, turns it upside down, covers it with a wet thin cloth and begins a mask by plastering the clay on it. It takes 3 to 4 days and 40 layers before the mask or a simple bowl is finished. While putting the last layer, she inserts marbles or cowrie shells for eyes and carves out details like nose and the ear. The masks and the bowls are dried for 7 days under the sun, all on gunny bags on the top of her tin roof. When the masks are dry, she paints them with a mixture of earth colors. Before that, she gives a layer of liquid white lime to the bowl of mask. Once the base is dry, she paints designs with an old neem tree twig. She gives it the right flexibility with a knife or by beating the brush on a piece of stone. With the prepared neem twig, she draws designs in bright colors. On the bowls, she incises little designs or makes a relief of fish, scorpion, peacock, palm trees and flowers. What is fascinating about Lovingben is that she paints with spontaneity and never repeats a design.
Through action through art, we are trying to find it's a search, I would say. As many artists as possible living in underprivileged areas who have a special talent. And as you know, artists are always few. One cannot really find hundreds of artists, but there are always few, and you have to really look for them. Why it's a good form? I think in terms of development, that's how we are working. First, it changes the quality of life. One artist in one community can change the atmosphere of the total area. Well, one cannot change the life of say 500 or 5,000 people, but if one can change the life of one person or 25 people, I think that one has done something.
The search is, can art be used effectively for development of people who live in sad and depressingly poor areas of the metropolitan cities? It is found that art helps. These natural artists can find a more satisfying way of life if they are helped to preserve their traditional cultural traits through the process of memory.
When a person lives in underprivileged areas and they come from the village, they know something. They know something they were taught by their father, their grandfather. They may not have been taught, they may have just seen it. A wall painting or a clay modeling or anything that is still being practiced in the villages. When a person, due to many reasons, comes to the city and lives in an underprivileged areas and has to work very hard in the city just to keep himself going and to earn a little just at the end of the day to eat, at that point slowly there is a crust forms over the person, and a crust forms over the memory of the person, and all that the person knew, even I would say a song, is slowly forgotten. And the pressure of living is so strong in the slum or in these areas that slowly one forgets everything about art or music or beauty, and the only thing is to get an economic stability. One understands that very well. But when we work with these artists, our method of working is such, is to try to make them remember what they have forgotten.
In every woman, there is a young girl. The birth of a girl is not always a matter of festivity. How could we, the so-called sensitives, live across the road and not be touched by what we see every day? The young girls living in shacks, crushed by traditions, without childhood, without toys, without education, struggle for getting work to add a few rupees to the family income, married even before they are prepared for it. What can we do for them?
Seva has been involved with artisans. Our total membership, which is around 55,000, amongst them, 1/3 membership is of those who are home-based producers, and out of them, about I think 20% are the handicraft artisans. Our core program is of organizing them. We try to see that they have access to various inputs. We have in Seva what we call design library. See, and where the artisans themselves produce designs of their choice, and and there is a library, so they are exposed to various kinds of designs. Traditional and then modern. The other input, which is again a very crucial one, is providing credit. We have got our own Seva cooperative bank. Then training is another important input. There is almost constant ongoing training programs. First, especially for